rock, hard place, Seattle home buyers. Let's just redo it. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Mike from Seattle. Allow me to introduce myself as usual. I am a small-time real estate investor owning a few different properties. All-around good guy, duly elected sheriff of the internet, here to give you the Seattle real estate market update for July 2020. And honestly, the news is really not that great. I'm going to go ahead and use my handy-dandy laptop here so that I can keep the facts coming and sound like I'm somewhat intelligent. But let's talk about what's going on in Seattle right now, other than, well, the end of Chaz and a few other things that have been going on in the news nationwide. We've had a little bit of attention drawn to us, and obviously we have this ongoing worldwide pandemic that's definitely kicking up rocks and dust and all sorts of different things. So if you are someone who's looking to either buy, sell, refinance, or do anything even vaguely remotely related to real estate in the King County, that's the county Seattle is located, or Pierce or Snohomish County, really the whole larger metropolitan area, then this video is for you. Stay tuned. And if you can't even hang out for like 5 to 7 minutes while I break it down for you slow motion style like you were watching ESPN, and you're probably going to suffer from the same mistakes that a lot of other home buyers are making out there right now. And there are some serious mistakes being made in our market. I think we're actually potentially even in a small bubble, possibly looking at a potential price correction at some point in the next 6 months to a year here, especially when mortgages, delinquent mortgages start to, come on the books. But fine, if you don't want to watch this, then click out and watch some other video about microcraft brews or whatever other Seattle bull crap. The Sounders are starting up again in a couple of days. I get it. It's more entertaining than me anyways. That's fine. That's fine. Or just stick around. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. All right, it is a really difficult time right now in Seattle. So houses are actually being sold at the fastest rate that they've been sold since 2018, right? Over 2 years since we last saw houses flying off the market at the rates they're going right now. Why is that happening? A lot of different reasons, but it's being primarily led by the fact that a lot of people are saying to themselves, if I don't buy now, I won't be able to afford it in 6 months. It is extremely expensive. Prices are on the freaking rise like nobody's seen in a while in this area. On top of that, interest rates are at literally almost all-time lows. And people are saying to themselves, I got to take advantage of this before prices inflate and those rates go away. And that is why people are buying up like crazy. But what else are we having an issue with? The actual amount of houses on the market. Let me go and read a stat for you right here. So in King County, there was 47.5% fewer homes for sale this June of 2020 than there were in June of 2019. Almost 50% less homes on the market. Well, what do we know based on Economics 101, right? Anytime you walked into your 11th grade econ class and literally the very first day you got the supply versus demand lecture. If demand stays constant and supply drops, prices skyrocket. And right now, demand is actually going up while supply is dropping. So we are just seeing a cataclysmic increase in prices, which is what's leading me to believe that we may actually be headed towards, if not already in, a little bit of a bubble. In King County, the county that Seattle's in again, the typical home last month sold for $725,000. That's a 4.5% bump from last year in June and an 8% bump month over month. So in other words, we're up 7.9% from May to June in the total cost of your typical home being sold in King County. If you think that that's sustainable increases at those levels long term, it's just not possible, especially what's going on with our economy right now. So why is the inventory so low right now? Well, really, it is just as simple as it sounds. Because of the virus that's going on, people are far less inclined to invite total strangers in droves into their house for open houses to come and look and do showings and those types of things. So a lot of people have held off on listing their properties until hopefully this whole mess is behind us. Now, unfortunately, with phases and openings and shutdowns and regressing phases, I can't give you an honest answer or expectation of when any of this stuff's going to end. I have no clue at all. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people. I follow all the boards, the discussion boards, and the YouTube channels, and the local market, everything like that. People are not listing their houses at the same rates they did before simply because of the fear of what's happening in our country, worldwide right now. And that's understandable. I mean, I can't really fault them for that. But that is the leading key factor for why supply is down so much, which is affecting prices. It is definitely a seller's market right now if you're willing to list. So let me build off why it's a seller's market. I'm going to share you a quick story. A friend of mine is trying to do the same thing that I do, right? If you follow my channel, you know that I house hack. I have a duplex. I live in one side, rent the other side out. A buddy of mine's like, hey, I like that idea. I want to do it too. So he's looking around for a duplex in Seattle. He finds one for $800,000. Comes on the market that day. He puts a full 100% offer and $800,000 offers it. Rejected straight away. The thing got bid up 120 grand in 12 hours and went pending. If that is not a recipe for disaster for what's happening right, I don't know what is. That is insanity. He finally, this was about 2 months ago, at the peak of the craziness, right? He finally just a couple weeks ago settled on a single family home that needs a little bit of remodeling for $800-something thousand, and he was able to buy it with a friend of his, and it was not what he wanted. He looked for months, he couldn't find it. The only reason he got this is because your average typical home buyer doesn't want to put in the elbow grease into remodeling something. So he just bit the bullet on that one, gave up on looking for the investment property, the duplex, because investors will say elbow grease, fantastic. Yeah, let's get it done. It'll be worth it. It's very hard to buy a house right now. Things are just they're bidding wars everywhere. So the other major thing that's really affecting people being in the market to buy a house right now more than usual is this mass exodus from major cities that we're seeing literally nationwide. New York, San Francisco, LA, Chicago, Seattle is not exempt. People have realized, hey, I can work from home. We got Zoom video conference calls, and we've got telecommuting to work and all these different things. There's no reason for me to live in the city so close to work if I can just go home to an actual home, not a small studio apartment for $3,000 in downtown Seattle. I can get $3,000 a month for a nice, beautiful house 35 miles outside of the city, and Zoom conference my way in every day and skip the 2 hours of traffic on I-5 and 405. And if you're not from the area and you're just watching this, believe me, you're going to want to pay attention to the traffic because your commute is a huge factor in where you should buy, okay? Send me a message on Instagram if you have questions about that. Or, hey, you know what you really could do that'd be super dope of you, and I mean like legit cool? I don't know, like, comment, and subscribe down below. Like, leave a comment if you have a question, and I'll just answer it, and then we drive some interaction on this. And since I do it all for free, it's really the least you could do. I'm such a nice guy. No? It was worth a shot. It's probably why I'm single. Okay, back to the task at hand. Stop getting carried away here, okay? With the average prices of houses being sold in King County at $725,000 a house, how do you think you're going to qualify for loans? Because as we all know, banks have been tightening restrictions on loans. We saw Wells Fargo and Chase both enact policies where they were saying we were no longer due 3.5% down on houses. You've got to come up with 20% down. Well, that's 150 grand that you have to just pull out of pocket to buy the typical house within King County. On top of that, you got to have a credit score of 800 and above bare minimum. That's not even what mine's at. Mine's at like 790, and I own, well, I'm trying to buy 2 more, but it'll soon be 4 different rental properties. Restrictions being tightened equals the inability for people to get loans, which means it's just, oh God, we got so many different things just going against each other. You would think that would drop buyers out of the market, right? Well, it probably would in a normal market, but what do we have here in Seattle, right? Xbox, Amazon, Microsoft, Boeing, Starbucks, and all of these big tech geniuses that just bring in programmers from everywhere across the world. They descend on the Pacific Northwest like locusts and feed at the trough of the evergreen trees. It's ridiculous, and then there's just not a lot left for, you know, the little guy like me. And Microsoft employees, I love you. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. For Pete's sake, you cherry tarts. Let me just go ahead and close with this. I am concerned that we are potentially in a bit of a bubble, because what's going to happen when, and God willing, we develop a vaccine or something to deal with this issue. And all of a sudden there's going to be a return to normalcy. There'll probably be a brief flood of properties hitting the market, but at some point that's going to level out. We'll have a return to normalcy. Interest rates, as the economy hopefully begins to recover, the interest rates begin to go back to what they should be. You know, I would assume we've always been a bit of a seller's market here in Seattle, at least for the last 10 years. I would assume we return to normalcy, and everybody who's been buying right now here is going to experience that little, as the bubble that they purchased in pops right out from underneath them. Whoops, I overspent 120 grand on this property, and now I'm locked into it until it appreciates to that value over another 10 years, 20 years? I mean, you appreciate pretty well here in Seattle, but who knows? All I'm saying is be careful. Do not get bogged down into a bidding war just because you really want something. I know that you probably would love to move into a house, and everybody's telling you, hey, you know, you're wasting money renting, but are you really? If you overpay for something by 100 grand or even 20 grand, Are you really wasting money if you rented for another year or two? Or maybe you just need to do a little bit more work to find that proper property in the best location and not get too emotionally involved and buy something that's really going to bite you in the shorts down the road. Anyways, guys, I really appreciate you watching this. I know I haven't done Seattle real estate market update videos in a while. I'm going to try to start doing these again monthly. These were my thoughts. If you have comments, leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you want me to just shut up and go kick rocks, well, we'll catch you next time.